Hello and welcome to my channel, Re-Vera. My name is Steve. Hey, I have something super important I want to talk about today. I think I've mentioned it in my intro video, but part of my background, I was unemployed for like 2-3 years, and then the only job I could get into was selling Kirby vacuums door to door. So, and then I leveraged 5 months of experience of that into an interview at a car dealership. And I've been working for them ever since, and I've worked my way up and not doing quite well, thank you. But the point is, excuse me, I need to tighten that up. The point is, I've been heavily involved in sales and marketing for about a decade at this point. And even before that, I've been fascinated with the mind since I was like 12. So I was reading books on influence and psychology. And this is all super important if we want to win as leftists. If we want to make our political movement grow and gain power and actually bring change to the world. So if you're interested in actually being better at doing politics, understanding the mind and the psychology of influence is super important. So I wanted to spend a little time talking about these subjects. So when I was selling Kirby's door to door, it's a very tough gig. It was in a recession, and they cost $2,500 each. It's a tough sell. And I went through a 6-week period where I wasn't selling any, and the way they work, you're an independent agent, so you don't get any minimum pay or anything. So I was not making any money whatsoever. So I started analyzing the process, starting from the very first second the customer saw me, and doing everything I could to fine-tune the process, and it worked, and I started selling. So the mirror of that in this case is when you're first introducing yourself to somebody. How do you introduce yourself politically? What labels do you use and why? And have you thought about it? Labels are an extremely powerful heuristic, which is like a mental shortcut. And depending on which ones you use and why and how, it can make a world of difference. So like I said, I've thought a lot about the mind. It's super... My favorite way of thinking about the mind is that the conscious mind is the operating system for the entire mind, because it's like just a couple percent and all the rest is the unconscious mind. And so think about it like this. If you're on Windows and you want to open up a program, you don't haul out, you don't just haul off and start typing up the whole program now, do you? No, you click the pretty little icon. That's all you got to do. And that's how the brain works. Instead of going into, you could spend years describing what a chair is and all the different types of chairs. Or you could just say chair. It's a heuristic. It's a label. And the same way politically, you can say conservative or leftist, or you could go into considerable amount of detail. You could spend your whole life talking about what those things mean to you. So there's different degrees, but it's a heuristic, it's a shortcut, and it's enabling people to not think about what you actually are. So depending on who you're talking to, it's going to have a wildly different interaction. So if you walk up to really your average person, let alone a conservative, and you tell them, I'm a socialist, I'm an anarcho-syndicalist, I'm a Marxist-Leninist, you can hear, if you listen closely enough, you can hear the iron gate to their brain slamming shut. And your chances of influencing them in any sense whatsoever have just gone out the window. Because people's defenses go up as soon as you use a label that's not part of their tribe, that's like opposed to their tribe. One of the strongest elements tying our brain together is tribalism, because it goes way back, before we had language. Humans have always been a social animal. And as a social animal, we're a tightly knit group, and we don't trust people from outside our tightly knit group. So we're very tribal, and if you use labels that are alien to people or that they think are opposed to them, it shuts down. Like, your chances of having a productive conversation with them, out the window. But we can do better with the way we introduce ourselves. So another thing to think about, so that's like the rhetorical angle you choose with how you introduce yourself. Another aspect is how much of a heuristic you use. So, if you just use the simple label, chances are it's going to shut people's mind down, because they think they know what you're talking about, even if they don't. Like, most conservatives have no idea what socialist means, but they think they do. And it just, shuts the mind off. And I would encourage, well, think about it like this. Which side benefits more from stopping thinking, and which side benefits more from thinking? Well, obviously, just look at the way they debate. Conservatives will put out a meme, and if you come in and counter it, you're going to put out one of a dozen troll responses and bounce. It's very hard to get a conservative to debate you in good faith, because they ain't got nothing. So obviously they want to shut down thinking. Whereas leftists can and have gone on for years in their whole life talking about it and thinking about it, and our theory goes way the frick deep. So obviously we want people to think. We want to open people's minds. So as such, if I don't know who somebody is, I think the best thing to do if they ask about political, or if you're just introducing yourself politically, is not to use a label at all, and just kind of describe where you're at. If I'm out fishing, other fishermen are pretty likely to be conservative. And if they ask, I can say something to the effect of, oh yeah, man, I just want to maximize liberty in society and, make the elites pay and bring the power back to the people. Which is more true for me as a leftist than any conservative, but your average MAGA head's going to hear that and think you're one of them. Because that's pretty similar to how they think of themselves. So if you think of different ways to describe yourself in simple language, depending on who you're talking to. And what that can do is it can stimulate discussion and raise questions. I want people to ask questions. I want to talk about it, but I want to talk about it with the defenses lowered a little bit, because it doesn't feel quite so alien to them. If you talk like that and then some specific comes up and it's like, oh wait, you don't support Trump? I thought you didn't you say you supported liberty? It's like, well, yeah, but Trump opposes free speech. He wanted to make it a felony to burn flags. Oh. And you can get people thinking, and now you're like behind their gate. You can actually help people think about stuff like that. So there's two options you can do. Is you can, on the one hand, like I just said, you can describe your position without labeling it. If you do use a label, you can use a label that maybe they're not familiar with, that might trigger a question instead of a reaction. So that's why I'm personally a huge fan of the term super capitalist. People don't know the fuck what that means. I also love to call myself libertarian, because I am. I want to maximize liberty in society the only way you can, which is with a government that has a monopoly on force that is of, by, and for the people. Like, that's how you maximize liberty. Because if you don't, then whoever has the most power is going to use it in whatever way they feel like, and that doesn't lead to liberty. This is like the reason ANCAPs are actually bootlickers. They end up licking boots of whatever oligarch has the most power in their region. So the only way you actually can maximize liberty is in a more leftist sense, where the people have the power through the state. So anyway, yeah, just put some thought into it. I'd love to hear your thoughts of how you'd introduce yourself to different audiences in the comments. And just start thinking more about the psychology of influence. I'd love to talk about it more, because I've read a lot of books on it, and it's super interesting, and it's super important, and it affects every part of your life. Like, this isn't just politics. If you learn how the mind works, it helps you grow as a person for yourself, because you can understand how your own mind works. And it can also help you solve all kinds of relationship problems. It can help you get jobs and do better in interviews, help you get promotions. All kinds of, like, every field of your life can be better the more you understand the mind. It's the most foundational part of our existence. So I'm not sure why more people aren't fascinated by it, but I am. Love to talk about it with anybody. I want to get back to streaming. I'm I'm still looking for an editor. I've had a couple message me, and not, and it hasn't. We haven't reached a conclusion. I think they're both busy. So anyway, if you're interested, let me know. I want to have get like a better intro and some clips I can use for Twitch and stuff like this, and then I can launch a channel and have conversations. I want to bring people on and give people advice and talk about all kinds of things that relate to truth and the mind and making the world a better place. So anyway, thanks. Think about it, put it in the comments, and I'll talk to you later.